You feel the ache, don't you? That quiet, persistent tug in your chest when you're with him. He's warm, charming, affectionate, but never fully there. He reaches for you, but never truly holds you. And yet, a part of you stays, hoping. That presence will eventually become commitment, that almost will one day become enough. But here is the truth most people fear to face. When someone tells you they don't want a serious relationship, believe them, not because they are cruel, not because you are not worthy, but because you are standing at the crossroads of illusion. And Individuation. This is not just about love. It is about the psyche's deep yearning for wholeness and the traps that keep us from reaching it. If he doesn't want depth, but still wants your time, your body, your energy, then you are not being loved. You are being consumed. And when you accept crumbs, hoping they'll turn into a feast, you betray something sacred within you. Your own soul's longing for meaning, connection, and growth. You must ask yourself, not with your wounded heart, but with your awakened mind, why am I staying where I am not chosen fully? Why am I offering devotion to someone who is afraid of devotion itself? The answer lies not in him, but in you. In the forgotten places where your childhood wounds whisper that love must be earned. In the silent shadow that tells you you're easier to hold than to truly keep. In the anima or animus projection that turns a flawed human into your imagined other half. And until you face this, until you illuminate these blind spots, you will continue to repeat the same painful patterns, wearing different faces but rooted in the same unmet need. Let this pain teach you. Let it burn through every false belief that told you love is about waiting, pleasing, or proving, because real love is not ambiguous. It doesn't flinch at depth. It doesn't see you when it's convenient. It shows up. It commits. It grows with you, not just around you. And you, who feel so much, who long so deeply, you deserve that. But you must first give it to yourself. Do not be afraid to walk away. Do not be afraid to sit in the silence of your aloneness, because that silence is where you meet your real self. And once you taste the power of being whole within, you will never again settle for fragments. From someone who doesn't know what to do with your depth. You are not too much. You are not hard to love. You are simply no longer willing to make a home in someone's indecision. This is your individuation calling. This is your invitation to reclaim your worth, not from his behavior, but from your own clarity. You are not here to be an option. You are here to be a conscious force of love, growth, and sacred presence. But first, you must choose you. When someone tells you they do not want a serious relationship, yet they continue to hold space in your life, linger in your presence, and draw nourishment from your emotional energy. You are not being loved. You are being kept. And yet, many cannot walk away. They stay, hoping that affection will evolve into commitment, that the soft gaze will one day look at them with certainty, that the temporary warmth will become a permanent flame. But such hope is often not rooted in the present moment. It is rooted in a wound, an unhealed place within the psyche that mistakes ambiguity for intimacy and confusion for love. This is not merely a matter of romance. It is a psychological phenomenon, a soul-level entanglement between a person and their own unlived truth. When we stay in relationships that are defined by emotional uncertainty and inconsistency, we must ask ourselves, what part of us is truly choosing this? The conscious mind may say it is love, but love does not cling to what refuses to hold it fully. Love does not diminish the self. Love is an act of mutual presence, of seeing and being seen. When that is not present, can we remain? We are under the influence of the unconscious. Herein lies the critical insight. The human psyche is not simple. It is layered, driven not only by conscious desires, but by deep, subterranean forces, the complexes, the archetypes, the shadows. Often, we are not in love with the person in front of us, but with what they represent. A symbol, an echo of someone long ago, perhaps a parent figure who was absent, unavailable, or inconsistent. We reenact, without knowing, an old drama, hoping that this time the outcome will be different. That this time we will be chosen. This is the trap of the inner child still yearning for recognition. And it is not weakness. It is not foolishness. It is simply a sign that part of the soul is asking to be healed. But to heal it, we must first be willing to see it. We must stop romanticizing inconsistency. We must stop interpreting someone's inability to commit as a sign of depth or fear of intimacy. Sometimes, people are simply not aligned with your depth. They are not ready to walk the path of wholeness, and that is not your burden to carry. The soul that is ready for love will not confuse you. It will not keep you in limbo. It will not nourish itself on your hope while refusing to water your roots. We must become honest with ourselves. Radical honesty is the beginning of liberation. When someone tells you they don't want a serious relationship, you are being handed truth. Do not turn it into a riddle. Do not try to change it. Accept it. Because in that moment, life is giving you the opportunity to turn inward, to confront the part of you that believes you must earn love by waiting, proving, enduring. This belief is not born from the adult self. It is born from the wounded self. The part of you that, once upon a time, had to survive emotional starvation by shrinking, pleasing, and hoping. But you are no longer that child. You are no longer powerless. And every time you choose to stay where your wholeness is not honored, you are unconsciously reinforcing the idea that you are only worthy when you are convenient. This is the psychic poison of unworthiness. It grows, slowly, silently, and it steals your vitality. To truly heal, you must become a warrior of inner truth. You must look at yourself with compassionate eyes and ask, why do I remain where I'm not truly met? The answer may come with tears, with grief, with the realization that you have made yourself small to keep someone who never intended to. Hold your soul, but this realization is sacred, because once you see it, you can never unsee it. And from that vision, you begin to rise. You begin to reclaim the power you projected onto another. You begin to call your soul back from the places it wandered to find validation. You begin to separate your longing from your logic, your fantasy from your reality. This is the first step of individuation, the sacred psychological process of becoming whole, of integrating all parts of the self, even the ones that once believed survival meant self-abandonment. The most dangerous illusion in love is not rejection, it is half love. The slow, subtle erosion of your spirit through emotional ambiguity. The moments when they come close enough to ignite your hope, but never close enough to fulfill it. This is the liminal space, the in-between where so many souls become lost. It feels like love because it touches the ache. It mirrors the longing. But it is not love. It is entrapment in the psyche's unresolved patterns. You deserve to be seen fully, not partially. You deserve someone who does not hesitate when you speak of commitment, someone who does not fear your depth, but steps into it with reverence. But this kind of love requires that you first become the one who chooses yourself without hesitation. That you become the one who says, I will not stay, or I am not loved with clarity. And so, when someone says, I don't want a serious relationship, you must listen not with fear, but with honor, for they have just revealed the truth. They have just opened the door to your liberation. What you do with that truth determines whether you remain trapped in a familiar suffering or walk toward a new kind of freedom. Do not ask if they will change. Ask if staying changes you. Ask if waiting chips away at your joy. Ask if your silence is the cost of their presence. And if the answer is yes, then leave not with resentment, but with reverence. For you are walking not away from them, but toward yourself. There is nothing lonelier than staying in the presence of someone who does not choose you, and nothing more powerful than standing in your solitude, rooted in self-respect, waiting not for someone to finally see your worth, but already knowing it. This is not the end of love. This is its beginning, when love is no longer a transaction, but a mirror of wholeness. The psyche longs to be seen, not tolerated, to be met, not managed. And when you honor that longing with clarity and courage, you step out of survival and into sovereignty. You begin to live from your center, not your wound. You begin to attract those who do not flinch at your fullness. And you begin to walk a path where love is no longer a negotiation, but a sacred meeting of two souls who have nothing to prove, only something true to give. Many people believe they are falling in love, but they are not. They are falling into projection. They are not seeing the other person. They are seeing a part of themselves disowned, unintegrated, long forgotten, cast like a shadow upon the face of another. This is not conscious. It is not deliberate. It is the work of the unconscious, and it is both beautiful and dangerous. In romantic longing, especially for someone who does not fully reciprocate, the psyche reveals a secret. That which you yearn for outside is something you have not yet claimed within. When he says he does not want a serious relationship, but continues to return, continues to share moments of connection and fragments of warmth, you are not just holding on to him, you are holding on to an inner fantasy, an image your psyche has wrapped around his form. He has become a symbol, perhaps a symbol of completion, perhaps of redemption, perhaps of the parent who never quite chose you, perhaps of the masculine or feminine energy you have not yet awakened in your own soul. You mistake intensity for intimacy because the fire of projection burns hot. But projection, though seductive, is blind. You do not know him. You know your idea of him. And he does not truly know you either, for he engages only with the version of you that accommodates his lack of commitment. You shrink, mold, and adapt to remain desired, while your authentic self grows restless in the shadows. This restlessness is your true self knocking, saying, I am not here to live in someone else's fantasy. I am not here to perform. I am here to become whole. In analytical psychology, we understand that the unconscious seeks its own completion. The soul, or the self, pushes us toward healing by attracting the precise situations that will bring our wounds into awareness. That man who withholds commitment, who teases affection and pulls away, is not here to fulfill you. He is here to awaken you. He is the flame that will illuminate the unhealed child within, the one who learned that love is inconsistent, unavailable, conditional. The danger lies in not recognizing this pattern. The danger is in believing that if you just love him enough, he will stay. If you wait long enough, he will change. If you sacrifice enough, he will see you. But this is not love. This is a complex and emotional knot tied deep in your psyche, pulling you back into the same dynamics again and again. And until you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life, and you will call it fate. You cannot heal your past by reenacting it. You cannot resolve childhood abandonment by convincing someone who is not ready to stay. The psyche does not find peace in repetition. It finds peace in integration. And to integrate means to withdraw the projection, to pull your longing back from the screen of the other and examine it. What do I believe he will give me? What do I think I lack without him? What part of me have I exiled, hoping he will carry it? This is not an easy process. It is painful to admit that what you thought was love may have been illusion. It is sobering to see that you are chasing someone not for who they are, but for what they represented. But in this sobering clarity, you begin to reclaim your power. You begin to see that your yearning is not a weakness. It is a compass pointing you back to the lost parts of your own soul. In many cases, what we project onto others is the lost archetype, the animus or anima that lives within. A woman might project her animus, her inner masculine, onto a man who is charming, mysterious, unavailable. He appears as the door to transcendence, the carrier of purpose, direction, strength. But if he cannot meet her emotionally, if he cannot hold her psychologically, then their relationship becomes a ritual of disappointment. And yet, she stays not because of him, but because the part of her that feels incomplete believes he holds the missing piece. But no one outside you holds that piece. What you see in him is the man you have not yet met in yourself, the strength you have not yet embodied, the voice you have not yet trusted, the power you have not yet owned. And when you realize this, you stop chasing him and start becoming you. This is the great work of inner union. To recognize that what you seek in another is often a mirror, calling you back to the self. He is not your home. He is the mirror that shows you how far you've drifted from it. You must be willing to break the spell of projection. You must be willing to see him not as your savior, not as your soulmate, but as a teacher, one who teaches. Through absence, through withholding, through ambiguity. And you must ask, what is he awakening in me that I have been afraid to face? When you bring this inquiry into consciousness, something miraculous happens. The projection dissolves. The fog lifts. You no longer see him through the eyes of your inner child, but through the eyes of your adult self. And from that place, you can finally choose not from desperation, not from illusion, but from truth. It is not a tragedy to outgrow someone who cannot meet you. It is liberation. It is the soul choosing expansion over repetition. And though it may hurt, it is a holy kind of pain, the pain of birthing yourself out of illusion and into reality. The man who doesn't want a serious relationship, but still wants to see you, is not evil. He is not your enemy. But he is not your destiny either. He is the reflection of a deeper longing in you to become whole, to stop seeking your missing pieces in someone else, and instead become the one who no longer waits to be chosen, because you have already chosen yourself. Love without clarity is chaos. Love without depth is projection. But when you bring awareness to the unconscious, when you see the pattern and break it, you step into something higher. You begin to love without illusion. And only then can you attract someone who does not complete you, but joins you in your completeness. That is not a dream. That is the reward of doing the inner work. That is what awaits you on the other side of the projection dot, to walk away from someone you still love, someone who stirs the depths of your being, is one of the most difficult acts a human soul can perform. But sometimes, the most vital step in your healing is not about staying and trying harder. It's about having the courage to leave. Not out of resentment, not to punish, but because something within you knows, this is not the place where I will find wholeness. And that knowing, though painful, is sacred. We do not walk away because we no longer feel. We walk away because we have finally begun to feel too deeply. We walk away not because we are indifferent, but because we are becoming conscious. Conscious of the ways we abandon ourselves. Conscious of the cycles we keep repeating. Conscious of the inner voice that has been whispering for so long. This is not love. This is a lesson. Individuation, the process of becoming whole, often begins with heartbreak. The kind of heartbreak that doesn't just break your heart, but breaks the image you held of yourself. It forces you to ask, who am I when I am no longer performing to be loved? Who am I when I stop clinging to someone who does not choose me fully? We often confuse attachment for devotion. We think that staying in a one-sided dynamic is proof of our capacity to love, to endure, to be loyal. But love without reciprocity is not love, it is martyrdom. And many wear their martyrdom as a badge of spiritual maturity, when in truth, it is a wound left over from childhood, the belief that if I am just patient enough, loving enough, silent enough, I will finally be worthy. But healing does not come from proving yourself to someone who cannot see you. Healing begins when you finally choose yourself, not as a performance, but as a deep act of self-respect. To walk away is to turn away from the illusion that someone else holds your worth. It is to remember that your value was never theirs to. Validate. Every soul reaches a moment when the pain of staying small becomes greater than the fear of walking alone. This is the threshold. This is the moment of truth. And what waits on the other side is not the absence of love, but the rebirth of your own. The reason leaving is so hard is because it is not just a physical departure. It is a psychic death. It is the death of a dream, the death of who you thought they were, the death of the story you built around them. And within that grief is the truth that your soul has outgrown the container it once tried to shrink into. Many people confuse staying in pain with being strong. But true strength is quiet. It's the strength to say, I love you, but I love myself more. It's the strength to feel the ache of loss and not turn away. It's the strength to trust that walking away is not the end of love, but the beginning of freedom. When you walk away from someone who does not want a serious relationship, but still wants to keep you near, you are not walking away from love. You are walking away from confusion, from ambiguity, from the slow erosion of your self-worth. You are walking away from the part of yourself that learned to settle for less, and toward the part of yourself that is awakening. And yes, it will hurt. You will miss them. You will doubt. You will remember the good moments, the laughter, the connection. Your mind will try to convince you that maybe you are asking for too much. Maybe they did love you in their own way. But the truth is, love is not a vague gesture. Love is not a maybe. Love does not hide behind fear or keep you waiting on the sidelines of someone else's indecision. To walk away is to say, I will no longer beg to be chosen. It is to reclaim the energy you've poured into someone who never held you with both hands. It is to return to yourself with reverence, to become the parent your inner child never had, the one who says, you are worthy of a love that is clear, committed, and whole. Individuation demands loss. The old self must die so the true self can rise. And often, that death takes place in the quiet moments after you've closed the door. The silence that follows is not empty. It is sacred. It is the womb of your becoming. It is where you shed the roles, the masks, the dependence, and begin to meet yourself anew. You may be tempted to go back, to reach out, to check if they've changed. But remember, what you are really longing for is not them, but the feeling of being seen, the feeling of being safe, the feeling of being loved without condition. That feeling must first be cultivated within. No one can give it to you until you give it to yourself. To walk away is not to give up. It is to grow up. It is to mature beyond the fantasy that someone else will save you. It is to realize that love is not about endurance. It is about mutual awakening. And if someone is not ready to awaken with you, then loving them means letting them go. In that letting go, something remarkable begins to unfold. You start to hear your own voice again. You begin to notice how much you have abandoned your needs. You begin to feel your own boundaries, your own desires, your own truth. This is the resurrection. This is the sacred solitude in which the self is born. Do not fear the loneliness. In loneliness, the soul speaks. In loneliness, the ego dies. In loneliness, you will come to realize that you are never asking for too much. You are just asking the wrong person. And the person you were waiting for all along was you. The world will try to distract you from this truth. It will tell you to move on, to find someone new, to numb the pain. But you must resist. This is not a wound to cover, it is a doorway. And if you walk through it, if you allow yourself to grieve and grow and become, you will emerge not empty, but full of clarity, full of self-trust, full of the love you once tried to extract from someone who was never capable of giving it. And one day, you will look back not with bitterness, but with gratitude. Because that person, though not your partner, was your catalyst. They led you to yourself. And that is the most important relationship you will ever have, the one with your own soul. The one where you no longer chase love. Because you are. Love, asterisk. There is a moment in every soul's journey when it must choose between illusion and integrity. It is a quiet but piercing moment when something inside of you awakens and whispers, "This isn't love. This is dependency masked as connection. This is survival disguised as affection." You realize that to continue in the pattern is not to gain closeness, but to slowly abandon your own center. You begin to understand that waiting for someone to choose you, while they continuously show you they won't, is not an act of loyalty, but an act of self-forgetting. This forgetting begins in childhood. A parent withheld affection. A caregiver loved you conditionally. You learned to perform to be seen, to smile when you felt broken, to offer affection in hopes of receiving a fraction in return. That child still lives inside you, still hoping that if you stay quiet, give more, need less, maybe this time someone will love you enough to stay. And when you meet someone who is half present, half gone, someone who touches you but never holds you, you feel the echo of that old wound awaken. And instead of walking away, you begin the performance again. But this time, it feels different. You tell yourself it's love. You feel the chemistry, the pull, the passion. You feel that if you just hold on long enough, things will shift. But beneath that feeling is a deeper truth. It is not them you're really longing for. It is wholeness. It is completion. It is the reclamation of a self you lost long ago. You are not really waiting for him. You are waiting for you. The one who cannot commit becomes the canvas upon which you paint your unconscious desires. He becomes the mirror in which you see both your hunger and your silence. And when you begin to see this, truly see it, you can no longer pretend. You can no longer lie to yourself that this relationship is nourishing you. You can no longer confuse attention with intimacy. You begin to recognize that your suffering is not caused solely by their absence, but by your refusal to listen to your own presence. To reclaim yourself is not an act of ego. It is an act of soul. It is to recognize that your value does not rise and fall based on someone's ability to see it. It is to know, not intellectually but viscerally, that you were never meant to be half-held. That your heart, with all its depth and fire and tenderness, was never meant to be treated as optional. But the reclamation is not easy. It is a descent into the underworld of your own psyche. You will have to face the patterns you inherited, the beliefs you internalized, the ways you made yourself small in order to survive. You will grieve, not only for the relationship, but for the parts of yourself you gave away so easily, thinking love required it. And yet, in that grief, you will find gold. The alchemists spoke of the negredo, the blackening, the death of the false self. In Jungian terms, this is where transformation begins. You break apart. You fall inward. And from the rubble of the persona that mask you, begin to rebuild not a better version of yourself, but a truer one. A self that no longer seeks love from those unwilling to give it. A self that no longer apologizes for needing depth, for desiring commitment, for expecting reciprocity. You were not made to beg for affection. You were made to embody love. But that embodiment requires clarity. It requires the courage to say no to what wounds you, even when your heart still whispers, yes. It requires the wisdom to differentiate between longing and truth. Because longing, left unconscious, can be deceiving. It can make you stay too long. It can make you tolerate what diminishes you. But truth, when awakened, liberate, the truth, is that someone who doesn't want to commit, but still wants your presence, is not offering love. They are offering convenience. They are taking your light to warm their hands without ever tending the fire themselves. And the longer you remain, the more that fire dies down. Not because you aren't enough, but because you are giving your sacred energy to someone who does not know how to hold it. You must become the one who protects that fire. You must become the one who says, if you do not choose me fully, you will not have me partially. This is not harshness. This is self-respect in its most evolved form. This is the moment when the child within you stops chasing validation and begins receiving guidance from the adult you are becoming. The world is full of people who will take from you as long as you allow it. But very few will stop and ask if your soul feels safe. Very few will honor your depth unless you first honor it yourself. And so, this work must begin with you. Not with confrontation, not with proving your worth, but with the quiet decision to no longer betray your inner truth. Will be moments when you falter, when the loneliness claws at your chest, when the memory of their touch floods your senses, when you wonder if walking away was a mistake. But each of these moments is a test of devotion, not to them, but to yourself. Each time you choose not to reach out, not to shrink, not to compromise, you strengthen the foundation of your being. You reclaim what was always yours, your dignity, your wholeness, your fire. And one day, without even realizing it, you will meet someone who meets you with the same presence you've cultivated within. Someone who doesn't need convincing. Someone who sees your depth and says, yes, I want to go there with you. But this person will not appear because you begged the wrong one to change. They will appear because you changed, because you did the hard work of turning inward instead of outward, because you chose not to abandon yourself in the name of being chosen. This is the path of individuation, the path of becoming. It is not linear, it is not painless, but it is real. It is the only path that leads not to a life of performance, but to a life of authenticity. And you, with all your longing and sorrow and strength, are ready. Ready to leave behind what no longer serves your growth. Ready to step into the unknown, guided not by fear, but by fidelity to your own soul. You are not asking for too much. You are remembering what you are worthy of. And the moment you decide to no longer shrink to fit into someone else's limitations, that is the moment you become free. That is the moment the true self begins to emerge, not as an ideal, but as a lived reality. And in that reality, love is not something you chase. It is something you become. Asterisk.